Okay, hello everyone. This is an special webcast for Windows Phone Spanish user group because, as you can suffer right now, I'm speaking in English and we have a special guest with us, Mattias and Anna from Fortumo. They are going to talk about a great thing we need to take into place. Oh, sorry, we have echo. Oh, yeah, my fault. So they're going to introduce the Fortumo mobile payment solution for Windows Phone. It's a cross-platform solution, and as they are going to tell us, it's a great way to easy the way our users can pay for our applications. So I don't going to destroy the English more. I let Mattias and Anna take the control. So thank you very much, guys, for giving us your time and helping with this.
All right. So thank you, everybody who has joined us. I'm going to switch over now from the video screen to screen sharing. So I hope I managed to share the right presentation. So yeah, again, thanks for joining us today. The topic that I'll be talking about is should hopefully be pretty interesting. How to make more money on Windows Phone. Kind of a introduction from our side. Then Fortumo is a pretty. I'm just checking. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Fortumo was founded in 2007, and we provide carrier billing in about 80 countries globally. So covering North America, South America, all of Europe, most of Asia, and a couple of countries in Africa as well. We have a pretty small team for the global reach, so we are about 70 people with offices in Europe, US, China, and India, and we're a venture capital-backed company, but we've been doing pretty well. Then, as I said, the presenters are Anna, who is our integration manager, who will be talking about technical implementation of carrier billing afterwards, and then I'll be covering the business side. And kind of the summary of what we'll be talking about is what's Fortumo and what's carrier billing in general, how to make more money in your apps. So firstly, how to get users engaged and get them to the payment window, how to run campaigns, and once the user has reached the payment window, then how to make sure that they are actually able to complete the payment and make sure that you are able to earn revenue. Then we'll look at the quick technical demo. I think it will take about 7 or 8 minutes. So then Anna will take over, and after that, hopefully, we will have time for questions and answers as well. So what's carrier billing? Or rather, more generic term is mobile payments. When I've been at conferences, that people have sometimes approached and asked that, okay, mobile payments, so you're like Stripe or Square. We're not like Stripe or Square. We don't do credit card-based mobile payments. So we deal with carrier billing, or direct carrier billing, or mobile operator billing, or mobile billing, however you want to call it. But kind of the main idea is that rather than users using their bank account or their PayPal account or their credit card to make the payment online, then the payments are instead confirmed over a text message or a data connection, and the charge is put on the user's phone bill or deducted from their prepaid balance. So the user's phone bill kind of functions as a bank card instead of the bank card itself. This kind of begs the question that if it has the same function, then why should anybody be using it? There are kind of two main reasons. So the first reason is that if we look at emerging markets, specifically those markets where Windows Phone is pretty strong, like India, Russia, Brazil, then the gap between credit card owners and phone owners is quite big. India is one of the most extreme examples. There's about 19 million credit cards in circulation in India, about 900 million mobile phones already. Same goes for Brazil, pretty similar situation in Russia, China, most of the emerging markets. So many people don't have a credit card, which means that you really cannot rely only on credit cards in these markets. And if we're kind of looking at the overall smartphone growth trend in the world, then Asia, Africa, Latin America, the biggest growing markets, it's pretty unlikely that credit cards will catch up to the smartphone ownership in these markets in the upcoming years. So that kind of presents a challenge, and carrier billing is kind of the solution to that challenge. The other benefit of carrier billing over credit cards is if we're talking about billing on mobile devices, then credit cards usually require quite a lot of information to be entered prior to the purchase. So you have to fill out the credit card number, in some cases put in your home address, things like that. So it creates a lot of friction in the payment cycle. With carrier billing, the benefit is that the mobile operator already knows all of the information about the user to make the payment. The only thing that the user needs to do is confirm and say that, yes, I want to make the payment. Now, to kind of be fair here, then there are obviously also downsides to carrier billing. One of the main downsides is that it has usually lower revenue share. So the mobile operators usually take a bigger cut of the end user payment than credit card providers do. So for example, in Latin America, we're talking about from the end user price, the developer gets 30 to 40% of the payment. On the other hand, we have, for example, South Korea, where the payouts are 90%. But in most markets, the carrier billing payout rates are lower than credit card payout rates, which means that it, for example, doesn't work yet that well for physical goods, or, for example, selling movies or music, where you have some kind of a license cost attached to the item that you're selling. But for selling virtual goods inside of games or apps, or providing a premium feature inside of an app, for that, it's pretty workable. And kind of the way to think about it is that if currently your revenue in India is 0, and let's say you make $1,000 during the next month, and you get only 500 of those dollars paid out to you, then $500 increase up from 0 is better than 0, I would say. So carrier billing really comes into effect when we're talking about emerging markets, and we're talking about markets where you're not currently making a lot of revenue. Usually in case of, for example, United States, then credit cards, almost everybody owns a credit card, almost everybody is used to paying with it. So that's kind of a market where carrier billing really doesn't work. So who do we work with? Who are the developers on our billing platform? We, for example, work with Game Insight, Creative Mobile, HeroCraft, Joybits on Windows Phone. In total, we have about 300 different developers using the SDK. If we speak about the other platforms we operate on, so that's Android web, mobile web, then we also have customers like Barnes & Noble for their Nook tablets. Facebook uses us in some countries for payments. Rovio, Electronic Arts, Blue Mobile. And the payment platform is open to everyone, so we don't charge any money for creating an account. The SDK is completely free. Our business model is that we take a very small percentage of, usually between 1 and 5% of each transaction based on the country. But yeah, the platform is open for everyone, so if you have another browser window open right now, you can already go and register an account. Speaking more specifically about carrier billing on Windows Phone, and going back a little bit further, then we've been doing in-app payments since the summer of 2010. So I don't know how many of you built apps when Android was around in 2010, but there was a time when in-app purchasing wasn't available on Google Play. So actually Fortumo launched the in-app purchasing solution, I think even before Google's official version. So we've been doing it for about for a little bit over 4 years now. On Windows Phone, or rather Windows 8, we've been around for 2 years. So I think we launched our Windows 8 payment SDK on the same day that was the public release for Windows 8. And Windows Phone has been around since March 2013 for us. We're the only third-party carrier billing provider on Windows Phone. We provide a unified SDK which works for both Windows Phone and Windows 8 apps. And the main use case is for freemium apps that have in-app purchasing set up to it. So whether you're selling some kind of virtual credits, power-ups, coins, new levels, or if it's a utility app, then selling, for example, premium features, removal of banner ads, or if it's a music streaming app, then selling access to the stream, for example, without ads, then that's kind of the use case where it works pretty well. We're kind of trying to build up the UI as similarly as that of Microsoft's. So the users will have a familiar payment experience, and we'll show kind of a demo payment afterwards as well. And not sure if everybody's aware, but Microsoft also has carrier billing available as part of its store solution. I think it's currently available in roughly 35 countries with 45 carriers. So our kind of SDK is intended to supplement Microsoft's own coverage. So by adding Fortumo's billing SDK, there's roughly 300 mobile operators in 40 countries that are added to the carrier billing coverage. So this much about Fortumo. Moving on with how to build apps that make money, which I guess is the interesting part. So as I said, we've been working with about 300 Windows Phone developers now for 1.5 years. On Android, we've been working for 4 years already, and I hope we have a pretty good understanding of what the key challenges and issues of app monetization are. This is pretty much the solution. If you build a good app, you get users, you engage them, and you get payments from them. In reality, if we look at the statistics on any platform, then most developers are making quite a little revenue. So on Windows Phone, 70% of developers are making more than $500 with their app. On Android and iOS, percentages are a bit better, but Windows Phone is a newer platform. The market share is smaller, and considering kind of the market share difference, then the situation is actually pretty good on Windows Phone. But the reality is that most people who built their app will not be making much money with it. So the question is how to kind of differentiate from this 49% or 34% of 60 or 68% of people who are making less than $100 with their app in a month. So the first step here is to engage users, create an interesting enough of a game, and as part of that game, have the payments visible enough to give users the opportunity to make the payments. And what to do for that? Then kind of first point is that in-app purchasing should always be visible inside the game or the app. So for example, there will be no revenue if the user cannot find where to buy the items from in the game. A pretty simple way to test this is to take your game or app, go out on the street, stop a random person, ask if they have a smartphone. If yes, give them your phone and say, okay, here's my app, can you make a payment inside of it? If they cannot find it, if they need to make 3 or 4 or 5 clicks to get to the payment, then it's hidden too deep inside of the application. The payment should be integrated into the game, or rather the gameplay. So it's good if the payment options appear in the game loop. For example, if it's a casual game with a lot of replayability, you can consider offering the payment to the user after they have finished the game. Or if they run out of a specific item or resource, you can suggest to them that, hey, you can buy this credit for money as well. That kind of brings the payment closer to the user than just having a store inside of the app. Motivation to spend. If the game is, if the user doesn't see the need to pay for the game, and it's very easy to beat the game without paying, or for example, if it's a utility app and you're giving away pretty much everything for free, and the part of the app that you're charging money for isn't that valuable to the users, then they're not going to be spending money on it. On the other hand, people who are using the free version of the app should also get entertainment out of it, and non-paying users should not be forced to quit because you're asking too much money. The reason for this is that, yes, the user might not pay for a month, 2 months, but they might become interested in payments later. So this is something that can be covered by campaigns, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. Simple language. Localization is something I'll also cover a little bit later, but keeping the menus, keeping the descriptions of the game as simple as possible means that more people will be able to understand. So for example, if you have a payment button, just use the buy word. Don't use any kind of tricky shopping cart or something like that. So both simple language and as little language as possible. Visual language always works better. User retention. Keep the users using the app or playing the game. The more times they come back to the app, the higher the chance that they are going to make a payment. So whether it's, again, a utility app or a game, you can, for example, give away some kind of a bonus each day that the user returns. So for a game, you can give free credits. If you have, let's say, a flashlight app with, or rather, flashlight is a bad example, but a podcast app with advertising in it, if the user opens up the app 7 days in a row, you will remove ad display for a week. Very random, simple example. Easy to use, difficult to master. This relates specifically to games. So both the users who are very casual gamers need to have fun with the game, but on the other hand, it's good to have also some kind of a hardcore challenge inside the game. So remember here, Drag Racing, creative mobiles game, which I think has around 200 million downloads across all the platforms. Their CEO has a really good example about this, that they had kind of what really added to the success of their game is when they added in a little feature that they thought would be underused, and that feature was tweaking of the gearbox of the cars in their game. What was the result of this is that there became kind of a hardcore fan community formed around specifically that feature. There are forums where people discuss how to best tune your car engine in the game, So giving these kinds of challenges to the hardcore players will improve the user engagement. Offline support. My statistics here are 3 years old actually, but a company called Localytics did some research and they claimed that 15% of mobile apps are launched while offline. I don't think the number has gone down, but rather gone up, because if you look at the new smartphone owners, they're mainly coming from emerging markets. Data connectivity there is very low. So if your game needs internet connection to be played, then that might cause challenges, especially in the emerging markets. Obviously, with some apps like social apps, you cannot use them offline. But in most cases, if you have a game, then having offline support is good. And the final part of better engagement is campaigns. This is a separate topic, so moving on to the next slide. So campaigns are a really good way to boost in-app revenue, incentivize users who have not paid before to make payments, and grow revenue basically. So the chart here is one game developer who is using us across a number of platforms. They run a monthly campaign each month in their app, and you can see what the kind of results are. That is kind of over time, the revenue between the campaigns is growing steadily, and the revenue generated from the campaigns are growing as well. So usually, how to set up a campaign, and this is regardless of whether you're developing a game, whether you're developing a utility app, something else. Kind of the key things to plan ahead for the campaign is to really look at the user statistics, regions, which countries or app locales are underperforming or overperforming for you. Where would running the campaign have the biggest impact? So maybe it makes sense to have the campaign in a region where you already have a lot of users who will be spending even more. Maybe it makes sense to try out a campaign for a country where you don't have a lot of users to try and get them to activate. User behavior. When are your users playing the game, using the app? When are they making the payments, time-wise, inside of the day? Are they buying inside the week? Are they buying during the weekend? If you have a lot of users in one country, what's kind of the date for what's the salary date? When do people get paid in the country usually? Thinking about all of those things, that when are users most likely to make the payment? Products. So if you have a game, you probably have different products available. If you have a utility app, you also might have, remove banners, unlock additional features, things like that. So you should kind of think that, do you want to boost the sale of those less popular features, or do you want to rather promote your most popular product and then generate revenue through that? Pricing. What's the transaction size that most users are willing to pay? How much of a discount can you give? We'll be talking about transaction sizes a little bit later as well. And bringing back old users, looking at specific user segments. So for example, if you are tracking user IDs, you're able to identify who hasn't made a purchase in a long while. Maybe you can target the campaign to them, trying to get them to reactivate and start paying inside of the game or the app again. The planning should hopefully help to kind of set up the idea of the campaign, and then measuring the results and building on those results and improving the next campaign is something that needs to be done as well. So conversion, how many users reacted to the campaign offering? A/B testing is always a good thing. You can create, for example, 2 different price offerings inside of the same country, or try out different messaging, try out whether a newsletter blast or a push notification works better, things like that. Pricing, you can also play around with pricing, A/B test pricing. maybe a lot of users opened up the payment window, but a lot of them closed it without making a payment. So perhaps the discount was too small, perhaps it was too big. Regions, which countries had the biggest payment conversion compared to your user base, and then again looking at the products. So if you, for example, discount all products, is there some kind of a trend in which products are more popular? And yeah, campaigns, you can do them on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, 2 months, whatever feels good for you. The main thing is to plan ahead and really try to think through and later analyze the results and then tweak and repeat. So this part kind of so far has covered getting users to the actual payment window. And a little bit, now we'll be looking at a little bit from the angle of what to do when they are at the payment window and how to make sure they're able to make the payment. The first thing, I already spoke about kind of the advantages and disadvantages of both carrier billing and credit cards. So here I've listed 5 of the biggest emerging markets and their credit card penetration. Choosing the best payment method that works in each market, making sure that users are able to pay, extremely important. So for the US, you wouldn't think of going after paying users without credit card billing. Perhaps for a market like India, makes sense to add carrier billing. For a market like China, for example, Alipay is extremely popular there, so makes sense to add Alipay. In Brazil, also carrier billing is pretty popular, but on the other hand, PagSeguro, which is a local payment solution, is also really popular. So what we usually recommend is developers put in several different payment methods into their app, A/B test them, see what where the conversion is better, and for what payment method the conversion is better, and then leave those payment methods inside of their game or app. I actually have a breakdown of this credit card penetration chart for about 80 markets. So I can share it afterwards, maybe inside of the video description. The second part is kind of looking obviously at where Windows Phone is doing the best, where's the most revenue potential to be made. So we did a little infographic in the beginning of summer, or rather in the beginning of spring, looking at the markets where Windows Phone is outselling iOS. So this is the infographic on the left. As you can see, most of the markets are in Central Latin America, Eastern and Southern Europe, Africa, and Asia Pacific. So it obviously makes sense to kind of go after the markets where there's the biggest amount of Windows Phone users. Obviously, you cannot forget the Western markets because of the higher purchasing power of the people, but usually specifically these emerging markets aren't viewed as having that much potential. But in reality, it's possible to generate pretty good revenue there. And the chart on the right, this is from the end of May from the Windows Phone blog. So if you actually look at the downloads for Windows Phone apps, then after United States, most of these markets are emerging markets. And a lot of them actually overlap with the markets where Windows Phone is outselling iOS. So going after the markets where Windows Phone has high market share. Localization, I spoke about it a little bit earlier, but having very simple and understandable graphics, text is important, and translating the app into the biggest locales is important as well. So this is kind of a breakdown of the languages of user devices for Windows Phone. I'm assuming most of you have Spanish covered, hopefully English as well, but that only covers about 60% of the users. So if you don't localize additionally, 40% of users might not be able to understand your application. Speaking specifically on the spending side, then most people think that developed markets, North America, Western Europe, those are the markets where people have the most money. And that's because most developers use only credit card billing. When we look at our payment solution, then actually for us the picture is completely different. So, for example, Malaysia, people in Malaysia, the monthly average revenue per paying user is higher than in the United States. Same for Saudi Arabia. Thailand, it's pretty much equal with the US. So if given the opportunity to spend inside of an app and you combine it with the right payment method, whether it's credit card billing, carrier billing, Alipay, PayPal, PagSeguro, something else, finding the right tool for the local market means that people will be making payments. And it's just a question of whether you are able to kind of identify those markets where your users don't have credit cards. Because from our data, we see that it is possible to make money in a market like Malaysia, which usually wouldn't pop into most people's minds. Something that people, or I've kind of experienced that developers like to set the same pricing for items inside of their applications. In reality, if we look at, again, the carrier billing data, then there can be 4- or 5-fold differences in the average payment size of the user. The average revenue per paying user can be very different as well. So looking at kind of the local market data, looking at the user income, it's possible to figure out what's kind of the most popular price that users are willing to pay for the products. And this also goes back to the campaigns. Campaigns usually bring a large volume of users, so during those campaigns you are able to identify what is the average user spending, what pricing should you build your in-app economy around. On the other hand, high average revenue per paying user is not necessarily an indicator of earning potential. So for example, in our case, with our carrier billing solution, India gets roughly 10 times more transactions than Thailand, but the revenue is roughly equal. So that means that kind of the users in Thailand are spending more, and low-income economy like India can also bring significant revenue because the payment volumes are that much bigger. And the kind of simple idea to remember here is perhaps you heard of the Big Mac index. So the Economist puts together a list of the biggest cities in the world and how much McDonald's Big Mac hamburger costs in those cities. So the in-game currency, it's basically like a hamburger. You cannot go around the world and sell it for the same price and expect it to be popular or equally popular in each country. You need to tweak the payments for the local market. If you don't want to do it for all of the countries in the world, you can set up really simple pricing tiers for yourself. So whether it's, again, credit card payments, PayPal carrier billing, different markets have kind of a similar spending habit. So for example, if you take some Western European markets, Spain, Germany, Austria, and add in Australia, the average transaction value is pretty similar. The monthly revenue per paying user might be different, but the transaction values are similar. So you can kind of lump in together, okay, these markets, the users are pretty much the same. I can create one specific product for them. For another market, you can create the second tier. For a third kind of geography, you can create the third tier, and so on. It's really up to you how kind of detailed you want to go for this. So you can localize for every market, or you can create tiers. Just checking in to see if you're still around and you can hear us.
Yeah, for sure. We can hear you.
Okay, good. So this kind of covers my part, and I'll let Anna take over now to speak about the technical integration side. So we have a little video here, and Anna will be kind of describing what's going on in the video. I hope I managed to get it to play.
Hi, so Fortumo SDK, as we already talked about, available for multiple platforms. That would be Windows and Windows Phone 8081. Here is a video that covers integration of Windows Phone. And first step that's happening here is obviously importing the library, creating a project and importing the library in that project. So Fortumo libraries are available for download from Fortumo website after you've created a service, and also available from NuGet package repository. So from your project, after you've created it, you can just search for Fortumo and add the library you need. Okay, so yeah, it's taking a bit longer, okay. And also, as it's a popular question, I will cover it immediately. For C++ applications, Fortumo billing would be supported for Windows 8.1 and Windows Phone 8.1. And for the rest of the platforms, it's available for C#. So here we are searching for Fortumo package and importing it to the application. The application we create here for the example is just a sample blank project, one page, one button for a payment. So what we will do, we will add initializing Fortumo billing to the pay button, and we will go over the options of how do we start the payment, what parameters can we specify there. And the next step would be to process the payment result, which is also happening on the application side. After you've created an application, you are adding a buy payment button that will start the payment. And additionally here, we are adding a text field where payment result will be displayed. With SDK package, demo applications are actually also included for every platform. So after you start to try out the SDK, from the package you will be able to find the ready-made demo code, which already has this part implemented. So you will be able to try out different options. Okay, so gone over the kind of obvious part, and we have a button here. From the button, we want to start the payment for Fortumo. One thing we actually need to do before that, we need to add the capability for reading user identity. That's necessary for handling the cases if, let's say, a user starts a payment, he finishes the billing flow, sends a message that he's already billed for, but for some reason he closes the app. So the SDK needs to be able to check for billing status afterwards. So it is done by identifying the payment by user ID from the device. This is the reason why this capability needs to be added to the project. So for starting the payment and for processing payment result, here in this example, we are using some ready-made code snippets. The same code snippets are available for you both from the demo app, and actually you can also go to the developers documentation portal, developers.fortumo.com, and under the section for Windows, you can also find the exactly same code snippets. So for the first test, you can just copy and paste this. Okay, so we've added Fortumo here. And here we have the code snippets for starting the payment. So what we are doing, we specify the Fortumo service ID and secret. This is the way how Fortumo knows what is the service the payment is corresponding to. And service is something you create on your Fortumo dashboard after you've created an account at Fortumo. So first step is creating an account. Second is adding a service type. You will add in-app billing for Windows. That is also the place where you set up available countries, available prices, price for each service, select service type. So service can be either a single item, so one price per country, or virtual currency, multiple prices per country, and managed virtual currency exchange rate. So all of this is something you set up on the dashboard site, and you can always change later. And here in your integration, you just specify what is the service and service secret you want to use. Also, if you need to use some kind of custom user identifier for transactions, additionally to the device identifier, you can use additional payment parameters, so something like CUID. That is added as a parameter to when you are building your payment object. You can set any custom CUIDs that will be also available in the payment result. So here we've added the handling for billing result. After billing result is available, so Fortumo library receives billing status. It is made immediately available for your application on completed event triggering. If for any reason billing processing takes longer, then completed event will be triggered as soon as status is available. That's obviously corner case. And additionally, after each billing is processed, a backend server notification is sent to your servers. So that is an optional part of the integration. But in case you have, let's say, a centralized billing server set up, you want to double verify all transactions, or possibly you are even giving out the purchased product server site linked to user account, then you can also always have your integration based on the backend notifications. In that case, status will be available immediately both in your application and in server side. And that's kind of it. So all kinds of specific parameters or specific handling of results. Where do you display the result? How do you grant the product to the users? That's up to the internal application logic. Of course, demo apps can be used as the basis for that. And I believe Mattias will show you a demo of how this all will look like after you're done with the integration.
Yeah, so once the technical side is added, once the app is published, Here we have an example from the creative mobile game Drag Racing on Windows Phone, and I'll just play the video and show kind of how it works. So the user clicks Pay by Mobile, chooses the price that they want to pay, confirms the payment. There's a text message sent in the background, and the payment is done. So obviously this is a little bit sped up here, but the payment flow looks quite similar in real life. Kind of to close up the presentation from our part, then if you're interested in trying out the billing SDK, we're currently running a campaign. So for any developer who adds the Windows Phone SDK that we have available, we're giving out $100 Amazon gift cards. If you're currently making over $2,000 on in-app payments on Windows Phone or Windows 8 combined, or either of the platforms, we'll give you $5,000 in advertising credits or a Unity 5 Pro license. You can check out the page now or contact us later as well. So the campaign will be running for quite some time. But we ran a little bit over, I think, with the presentation part, but more than happy to answer any questions now that anybody might have.
Seems like we don't have any question at this moment. I don't know if you have something more you want to focus or to spot about the Fortumo.
I think we pretty much covered all of the topics. So yeah. Developers.fortumo.com is where the technical documentation is available, and if anybody is interested in or needs additional information or is interested in the campaign, then you can write to us at start@fortumo.com, and we'll be happy to help out.
Yeah, I need to say I was taking a look at the SDK. The sample code is very focused, very simple to read and to implement, and it's something you can implementing the SDK is something you can make in half an hour without any problem. It's very easy to implement in the application, and it's something that you need to think about. Something that I can implement in my application in half an hour is able to report to me a lot of revenue I can't get at this time. So I love the Fortumo SDK because it's a way to get a lot of more of revenue, because in Africa and India there is a lot of regions where even if people want to buy your application or buy your in-app purchase, they can't. They can't access to a credit card. So
yeah, kind of to maybe add here, then for example, the Indian market specifically, and actually a lot of the emerging markets, then the challenge is that users do have the money to pay, and in the long run, they might be willing to pay as much as a person in Spain or UK or the US.
yep.
The main question is that, or rather the main issue to be solved is figuring out what price they are willing to pay at once.
Yes.
So kind of to give a context here then, India, I think like 98% of the phone users are prepaid SIM card owners, so they recharge money to their phone accounts.
Okay.
The average amount that they usually charge is 50 rupees. Translating rupees into euros, 50 rupees is around 0.35 euros. So if your game has an in-app purchasing product that is priced at 3 euros, you're seeing, wow, I have 100,000 downloads in India, but nobody's making any payments.
Yep.
And that's kind of the issue there, that they might pay for it, but you're asking the wrong amount of money from them. So figuring that out that's not specific in any way to carrier billing, but it's more of a challenge of the emerging markets. That approach is completely different from the one in kind of the mature economies.
Totally agree. Yep. So as we don't have any questions, so we can close the hangout now. Thank you very much. Really appreciated that you have the time to be with us in this hangout, and I hope in some time we can talk about again and make another hangout together.
Yeah. If we ever end up in Spain, then maybe we can organize something offline as well, and
yeah,
something more in depth.
I'm your guy for the party.
Sounds good. Okay, so thanks a lot, everybody, for your time, and care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.